Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down this really powerful idea, something that quietly shapes some of our toughest decisions. It's called the logic of fair game.
All right, let's jump right in with a classic ethical dilemma. Picture this. You have to make a choice. Save 5 lives or save 1. Now, on the surface, that sounds like a no-brainer, right? But if it's really that simple, why does so many of us pause? That little moment of hesitation, that's what we're digging into today.
So that feeling of conflict, it brings us to our first way of looking at this whole problem. Let's call it the moral calculator. And what's so striking here is just how simple it is. I mean, from a pure academic math class point of view, the logic is just undeniable. 5 is greater than 1. That's it. End of story. The correct choice is just to save more people. The key thing to get here is that this model just strips away all the messy human stuff, you know? It takes a super complex moral problem and turns it into a simple equation, like something you'd solve in a math book. The best outcome is just the one that's mathematically the best. Okay, but this is where it gets really interesting. If the math is so crystal clear and the answer is so obvious, why does it so often feel kind of wrong? You know? Why does our gut just scream no at this cold, hard logic? Well, it's because there's this huge clash happening inside our brains. On one hand, you've got the moral calculator. It's cold, it's rigid, and it only cares about the final score. But then there's our human gut feeling, and it's so much more nuanced. It's driven by this incredibly powerful force, fairness, and it cares a ton about the process, not just the outcome. And this quote really just hits the nail on the head. We're not walking calculators, right? The way we act, our unspoken social rules, our entire sense of right and wrong. It's all built on this foundation of fairness. So what is this hidden rule that our gut seems to get even when our logical brain doesn't? Well, it's a concept called fair game. And the core idea is pretty simple, but it's huge. We are just hardwired to care about a fair process. It's not always about getting the best result on paper. It's about feeling like the rules were just, like everyone got a fair shot. So let's really break that down. The whole idea of fair game logic is that it cares more about how a decision gets made. And there's a really deep reason for this, by the way. If you think about it from a social, even an evolutionary perspective, fairness is basically the glue that holds us all together. It's what lets us cooperate and trust each other. A group where people feel the rules are fair, that's a group that's going to stick together and thrive. So this isn't about throwing logic out the window, not at all. It's about realizing that fairness is its own kind of logic, a deeper, more human kind, and one that, for our ancestors, was probably way more important for survival than simple math. Okay, so what does this mean for you in the real world? Well, getting this gives you a kind of invisible advantage when you're dealing with tricky social situations. Because once you start seeing that tension between pure numbers and human fairness, you suddenly get why people react the way they do. You can see conflicts coming a mile away, and you can start finding solutions that actually feel right to people, not just solutions that look good on a spreadsheet. So here's what you get out of this. When you see the world this way, you can handle those tough situations with so much more confidence. You actually learn to trust your gut feeling, because now you understand there's a powerful logic behind it. And maybe the most important part, when you show people you care about a fair process, you earn real, genuine respect. And this all leads to a really surprising, but also kind of empowering conclusion. Being powerful ethically, it's not about being some kind of super genius with a calculator. It's actually much simpler than that. It's just about being aware of this basic, fundamental human need for fairness. So here's the big takeaway. The next time you're faced with a problem that has a simple, obvious, numbers-based solution, just take a second, pause, and ask yourself, does this pass the fair game test? I mean, really think about it for a minute. Can you think of a time recently, maybe at work, maybe in the news, where you saw a choice that looked perfectly logical on paper, but it just completely ignored our deep human need for fairness?